Alright, welcome back to another Play and Explain. Um, right now we have two 500s going. Looking to join these two 1Ks. I haven't opened up stars, probably losing some EV, but I might just stick to WSOP. Looks like I have a good seat on this guy in the 500. So I will be sitting. Yeah, might be leaving one of these 500s one of 1K runs, but yeah. I'm trying to get two more videos out of the way. I filmed two yesterday, and trying to film two more today. We can go to 9 here. Versus a fish, you can argue that you don't want to be 3-betting these types of hands. I don't really think about it too much. I don't know. I don't know. I'll just go with the 1/3 here. Could size up in theory, but I think in general they might be calling too many weirder hands. Just also my hand doesn't really have that much equity, so I don't really feel the need to grow the pot. I'm gonna be checking back here and likely just giving up this hand. I think a lot of their calling range does involve an ace. So just a believable story. If you, I don't like jamming here when he goes big. If you went small, I don't mind going all in. Even half pot. I think you can get away with the all in there, but I think he has too many flushes in his B75 range. Or maybe a hand too strong that he wouldn't even fold versus a flush. Because I think what matters is not the actual strength of their hand, it's how they perceive the overall strength of their hand. I think that's an important one, and they usually kind of give that away by the size they bet. Gonna be folding here. This on this number, just gonna give it up. I'm playing a lot of overbetter check here. This hand gets in here sometimes. I would say it's one of the, also doesn't mind checking back here. We'll go for it this time though. On a 40. I would say it's probably mainly a check though. So I probably should have, gonna be continuing this card a good amount, but I think this hand is just gonna be a clear check. River the 2 pair, so just gonna be calling a size no matter what. I don't think we can raise here when he goes this size. In general, it's kind of crazy. But he had a set of 5s. Oh, this hand's basically pure folding here, blind versus blind. What's the fish in the big blind? You can probably extend the opening range a little bit more, so I don't mind it. There is another fish, I think, who just sat this 1K. So for now, I guess I could potentially sit this game. Have been on a bit of a downswing recently. Oh, on a 100, this second actually will 3-bet. Jesus Christ, I timed out here. I did not realize. I had a good hand too, right? Yeah, jeez, what a disaster. Doing too many things at once. Just fold here when I take a while. When he sizes up to half pot, I don't mind just overfolding. I think the hand, for what it's worth, is a pure defend. I'm gonna be leaving your next blind. We start here. Ace 5 on a 57, I think can 3-bet. King 9 here on a 67 versus UTG. Oh, it's first cutoff. I should 3-bet. Okay. I accidentally hit the fold too early. Playing this a good amount slow, but also can be c-betting a decent amount for the smaller size here as well. So we'll go for the smaller c-bet with the merge your hand. And definitely going to be checking now, I think. And I don't think we ever win this hand. I think we have other bluffs though. Probably want him to have a 5. Yeah, so I think we just check, never win. I think it's a pretty easy spot to overbluff if you take hands like this. Could clear maybe in the check jamming range, but I think I'd rather take other types of hands. Alright, that's pretty good because I don't know what offsuit queen x he has to turn to no bluff. Maybe queen 10. It's probably an okay hand to call. But he obviously has some bluffs. Oh, gonna change the color of this to purple. Oh, versus the small size, just gonna be folding this one. I'd play a razor fold strategy mainly on that board. So far on a bit of a downswing. Definitely had some weirder hands. I've been running pretty bad on these mono boards. It feels like people just have it way more than they should in my sample recently from my last video. People just have the nut flush or something of this nature. Have another 1k going now. Running wide, the balance on my GG is on. I try not to keep too much on my poker sites. Prefer putting money in my savings account, as I don't play really above 2k or above 1k at the moment. And until recently, I haven't been playing that much 1k. Here, I think I'll simplify it at the range, but I could check. I think here you could get away with both. I mean, fish don't really bluff you too much, but I think in general this hand is a call, so I'll go with the call here for the video, because it is probably a call to that size. If you wanted to fold hands like this, I don't mind it. When he goes like this, I think we don't mind just jamming our hand. We fold out some hands like ace-king. We kind of run into it a lot versus these higher ace-x suited flush draws, but I think in general, I don't really like calling this hand. So he has a hand like aces. Yeah, so I think we were probably right to not defend. I'll check here. I don't know. Green card. Oh, this is a rough day so far. Yikes. I think I probably should have found the fold pre-flop. Kind of frustrated with myself. Already done 2 buy-ins at the 500 to start the day. Ah, man. Both rare spots like this with the flush draw running it twice. My all-in view has been atrocious recently. Maybe my next 3 videos will all be losing sessions, as I said. Feels like I didn't post too many losing sessions, but here we go. Yeah. I will say I don't mind folding pre-flop there in your guys' stake. I think it's a little overrated to defend, especially when your opponent's size is too big of a size. You don't really have to start calling too much versus it anymore. Looks like I am joining another 1k. I'm just going to be pure defending the pocket deuces here. It's my first session of the day, so if I'm a bit off, that is why. Hopefully we can get some entertaining stuff. Here on this board, you're playing a high frequency raising strategy. I think deuces though. Actually, deuces is probably one of the hands that benefit the most from actually just raising this board. The issue is he calls some 5x and stuff, so maybe it's just too weak and it would probably go in the calling strategy. But the upside is you gain a lot of protection from your hand. On a 90 here, it's close. I think we still want to call here. And we basically never win now. I might have played this hand pretty incorrect. I think I might actually prefer a call on the flop. I was thinking in general we benefit the most from protection with a hand like deuces, but also you just don't get enough value from actual real stuff. And I think this is probably like the hand we'll say nice hand too. Alright, here versus the recreation, we can do a lot of things. I think I prefer sizing up to a half pot sizing. I think in general we're just going to be attacking the actual functions of his range that we get for a lot of money. Don't really care if he overfolds some of these lower pocket pairs or random backdoor hands. As those hands actually do have a good amount of equity versus us. I might actually leave this 1k and replace it with the other one, because these 500s do seem to be a bit better. Gonna be defending the pocket threes here. On this type of board texture, just in the leading range here, it's a little too high. And these hands I always am a little confused what to do. I think you just play this hand like it's not very good, and you include it in that checking range. And by the river, you almost feel like you can get away with bluffing this hand, as it's just so bad, and a lot of your bluffs probably bet earlier. I don't know. It's probably close. You fold up some of these lower pairs. That's the advantage of having a hand like pocket 3, so I think I will go for it. I don't mind the overbet here because you're repping a 9 that you check turn with, which is hard to rep. You're basically repping in like 7, 9, 8, 9. That, The advantage to 3s is you fold out 4s, 5s, and 6s. So, yeah. And I will say you don't block too many of his river folds. And the hands that lose to pocket 3s are basically always pure bluffing river. So you basically are. It's not like your showdown value really matters. I think here I should supposed to 3-bet, but goddamn, I should have found it. Where did I put my other table? Is it under one of these? Huh. Or did 2 games just break? Did I actually leave one of these 500s? I think I did. I think that was the mistake I made. So here in the super check down spot, my opponent's just gonna have a lot of ace-x. I guess we'll just go with the p75. I was thinking we can go for the overbet to attack it. It's probably folded more. I think I was too focused on all my tables. I prefer turn betting with my hand, I will say this. If I just find a big bet on the turn, I think, obviously I will say this combo, I'm blocking some of his actual folding range. It's probably worse, but I still think I would prefer the bet on the turn there, as most people just check back they have 2 week of a check back range on that board texture. I don't know how well I'm playing in these videos recently. I feel like the last couple days have been decently off, but I'm gonna try to really lock in for the next little bit. Jeez, my headset wire is not helping me do that though. So I've been recording for 12 minutes. Hopefully we can get some things that actually happen that aren't just stacks versus recreationals. Those are kind of pointless to go over. I guess here I have no clue what to do. I think generally when a fish opens to 3.4x, I actually have no clue. Off this depth, I think I'll go for the 3-bet though. I wouldn't blame the idea of folding. It's just hard to fold 8s here in the spot. I don't like calling. And if he shoves, I guess we just get it in. I don't know. He probably just has a 10, and I probably should have just folded my hand when he snap pots it. Yeah, I feel like that's just a mistake by me. I'm just overplaying it versus the donk pot. It's so hard to know in this type of spot. Oh. Well, we get bailed out a little bit with our all-in EV. It's hard to know in this type of spot because you see people just donk jam anything. Yeah. I think this hand's basically a pure fold. I think it prefers the ace-10 suited. I said in my last video I don't think ace-10 suited is too good, but I think I was wrong. Here in this video, here in the spot, just gonna be playing a 1/3 strategy. If the board is just like super disconnected, you can almost get away with it for sure. This hand at a high frequency is gonna be a 4-bet and just folding. It kind of seems unintuitive because your hand doesn't mind calling, but I think in this spot we're gonna go for the 4-bet. Yeah. Plays pretty well, I think I would say it's a 4-bet fold. I don't like this tank though, but Alright, here gonna go for the range bet. I think you could do a lot of things. You could actually probably put this hand on checking range. Has a lot of equity though. So go for the 1/3. So he plays the lead here. We'll go for the raise. Here we'll go for the half pot. I like half pot on this type of spot. Wouldn't be surprised if my opponent has hand like kings or aces though, with how long he took before he called. And I think we're just all in here. And this is like whatever where you can play a lot of 2 streets. Yeah. Usually the hopefully it's not a set. He has kings. This guy's just going pro. Okay, this guy called last time with 10-8 off, so. Jeez, I'm not running good today. Here if we jams. He donked this guy donked last time he flopped a 10. Oh my god. This is insane. Like, what is the equity needed to call? I feel like we're just supposed to call, but I don't know. And then we have this spot, which is just crazy to me. This one I'm just unsure. Oh, Jesus Christ, man. I think it's a call. Jeez. I just think you can't fold a 9 too often here. I mean, to be fair, we probably want to have some 9x we fold. Maybe this hand's preferred. Just don't really like the guy's line. I mean, it makes sense. I just don't think we're really supposed to be folding a 9 here. This player is capable of having bluffs in the spot, so. If anything, over bluffing the spot potentially. Just such a disaster, man. I'm trying to think how much you like clubs here. Relative. Like, obviously the clubs are okay. But. I mean, not blocking 9-6 suited actually is kind of a disadvantage, so I could get behind folding clubs. And you maybe block his bluffs with a hand that floats flop, but I don't know, it seems kind of irrelevant. So this is probably going to be my biggest losing video, I think. So far, at least, today I'm down almost 3,000. So far, it's not been a fun day. Was planning on filming 2 videos, but depending on the rest of this video goes, I might just only film 1 today. I'm still going to be going to spots. I'll go over that 10-9 spot for sure. Yeah. Here I like to, this hand can check. You actually need to build checking ranges. I like to exploitively just bet really high frequency, but yeah. And then on the turn here we'll reopen. I mean, you can attack a lot of his pocket pairs now. I think this size is preferred. I could see an overbet being okay as well. But I'm thinking the types of hands we want to bet is mostly Queen X, and he could still have some King X played, so. I don't know how much a queen would want to overbet. I mean, are we really polarizing to just a king here? When we bet, I think the main portion of his range we're attacking are those lower pocket pairs. So, middling pocket pairs. So I don't think we need to go too massive. I mean, if you think he is capped in the spot, you could go with the bigger size, which I also could get behind. Oh, what a choke. I don't think any plays are misplayed by my opponent. It's just frustrating, though. This way on the river, I would say the spot is underbluffed in your guys' pool, but this guy, he definitely has bluffs here. Or he might not have bluffs here. He's definitely a guy capable of bluffing a lot, though. Maybe this is the exact note he doesn't pick them. I don't know. You can't know that stuff. So it's kind of pointless to waste your time thinking about. Here with the 9 of hearts here, it kind of blocks some of the better calls, but I still think in general, this is where we're going to have a lot of bluffs here. So we're going to be looking to raise pretty often with our top 2 pair. The 9 of hearts is actually probably okay because, yeah, and then we obviously have like infinite numbers of bluffs here. We're just going to go with the overbet and likely shove river on most bricks. Yeah. We're upping a hand that beats ace king usually when you're playing this, taking this in line. When you raise flop, you're basically saying I'm either bluffing with a merchant or I'm beating ace king. Maybe you can put a little bit of king queen in there, so maybe not, but I don't think on that type of board for that size it's preferred. But just so you get enough value hands in there. Alright, it doesn't seem too bad as it's kind of added equity to the hand. I mean, if you wanted to slow play one, I wouldn't mind it. You're blocking some of these call downs, but I could be wrong though, because sometimes having the heart on the flop is just nice because it adds equity to your hand, and you kind of protect yourself from being versus a hand like 10-9 hearts, which might, maybe not. I don't mind the smaller size here if you actually wanted to small size down even smaller. You can get behind the logic behind it. In multi-way spots, you can size down pretty small. Versus recreational, he'll probably be betting this hand twice. It's nice that the jack isn't a diamond because if he has a hand like a jack X suited hand. Yeah. I'll go with this size. Right here, just gonna be folding versus the cold shove. And versus a fish here, sizing up to 9 big blinds at this SPR. From these positions, I'll just be folding this hand. And we get raised here after he tanks flop. And when a fish tanks flop, I doubt he's reverse timing telling me. It means he might have had a decision on the flop, so I'm gonna be proceed with caution on this river. Don't get the card we want. Unfortunate. And when he checks, feeling pretty decent. Hopefully he's not just knitting it up. Okay, so he was actually just wailing out of his mind. 4 diamonds would have been pretty sweet, eh? Gonna be defending here. I think versus a 2.5x, you can actually start folding hands like this, but snap 1/3. Like I said, generally you want to be raising a good amount of these pair boards. I really don't mind raising a hand like this, as it kind of needs protection. The 10 is not a great card to have, as there's 3 overs still coming on this turn. But I'll go for the call actually versus EP. I don't mind just being a little more polar here. I feel like Jack 10 just in reality is just you're only going to be called when you're behind. It's going to be hard to navigate this spot. I do think in theory this hand is a raise at a frequency. It just logically makes sense. You might be taking more of a suited approach though, with your lower Jack X and Jack 10. So yeah, I don't mind just putting this hand in the calling range, especially without a club. And he checks. I think on the river, we get paid from some worse Jack X. We have a lot of 9x here that we want to protect. So I don't mind putting this hand in some sort of block calling range. In general, we're going to call a lot of our 9x here. Could probably size up, but yeah. I'm not going to be playing heads up in this video. Oh, is someone sitting us? That will take some time before folding. I don't mind playing 5 tables for the video. Here, I'll probably put this versus recreational. I'll probably size up with this hand. This is just a perfect hand. Under the 5, you have the backdoor wheel out. And then we can hit spades. Just gonna bet again big when the spades get there. If he calls here, I'm kind of reluctant to do anything else with this hand. Could probably block bet the river, but I think in general we'll go for the check here and evaluate. If he bets less than if he bets less than his stack here, I'll probably call him. If he pots it, I'll probably fold. Ah man. Sorry if I get a little frustrated. I am human, but I wouldn't say I'm that tilted right now. I could see myself getting a little tilted in the future of this session. I'm not someone with the I like to think I'm okay emotionally, but I'm not perfect. Some of these hands have been pretty sick. Oh, this guy still just calls like everything. We're gonna be more reluctant to bet in the flop with him. I don't know. He just had 2 shoves in a row. One was a donk. Granted, he was at a smaller SPR. Oh my god. How long I've been recording for? 24 minutes. Jesus, he says it normally goes 3 point. This time he says it more. I just don't see myself doing anything but raising the ace-9 here. I just think he's been defending some middling type of hands. Like I saw him defend 10-9 off. So. We get shoved on. It kind of sucks. Maybe he had a little bit of a tell here with the size. Oh my god. Gonna be sizing down here. I still think I have to range with this board. It's not like we have. If we had a hand like ace 10 suited, we could knit it up. And he just has a raise. I mean, there's not much I can do here with this hand outside of just hit a flop. Okay, I do think we're ahead for you, but yet to hit a pair on the flop out of like 4 hands in a row versus this guy. Well, here we go again. This time he sized to 2 big blinds though, so maybe it's a little different. Hopefully this is the time he gets a little fed up. Here just gonna mainly be checking, and we get to hit a pair on the flop. Gonna check this one back, because this guy just has the most aggressive checking range I've ever seen. And gonna check again. And let's see if we can win here. We do actually win. An ace would have been nice. Would have been a good way to help myself out in the session. Could probably consider betting this river, but I just don't think I tell that good of a story. I think it's pretty easy for my opponent's river jack to call me. I don't know what I would bluff here. I don't like having the types of hands I have here. I think I want my opponent to be stuck with some ace high. Some other bullshit. But I will say, if you actually look at the spot though, you don't really think your opponents have spades, and a lot of his jack X actually does bluff. A lot of everyone's jack, like king jack, and maybe ace jack, which we block, and also it's unlikely they have. So I actually can get behind betting this river, I think, in practice, because if you look at when the board is queen 9, almost like jack 10, jack 8, a lot of these guys will fire this hand, so they don't actually river too much jack X. So I think it's probably an okay river to be aggressive on. And I would say when the fish checks like that many times, he's pretty capped. And the rig's definitely way more weighted to these lower pocket pairs, so if I was really thinking about the hand, I think I could have found the bluff. Unfortunately, I'm recording and playing 5 other tables. On a 76 here, I think this hand can do it sometimes. I might be getting my positions wrong. I do think this guy might be under defending and opening a little wide, as it is a recreational. And usually they call a little too wide, but sometimes you get the nittier ones. I'm just running into it. And we get 3-bet again. This hand's mostly going to be folding versus a 3-bet. On a 56, I think you need a little bit higher number to 3-bet this hand. Gonna go for the squeeze here when the other guy calls. The acute queen off. 92, that will be a high enough number to defend. Don't mind defending this one more. It's probably close though. He checks. I think we have to check this one back without a heart. The river 9 is nice though. I think 2 overs could consider betting. And when he block bets, I think I'm gonna honestly raise him. No, if we had an ace 9, I wouldn't mind it, but here he has some other bullshit. Here he checks to us on a board where he's gonna be like jamming a high frequency and then betting small. I don't expect him to have too many. I don't know. I feel like he's looking for a check jam more than he would just prefer to open jam. So I'd rather just check my fours and evaluate. I do have good blocker properties to my hand, but yeah, obviously the advantage is we can maybe attack 9s, 8s, and 7s here in the delayed line. But I think in general we have enough non-pairs to bet. I mean, obviously the advantage of this hand is we hit a clean 4 when we bet. Yikes, so we're just not going to win this hand. I think we just give up. Here you can do both here. I think ace-jack prefers to bet. The higher ones might not. I could actually have this backwards though in this exact type of note. I'm gonna just fold here. Here you can do a lot. I don't mind the overbet in this spot. The higher number. Usually like the split between the two sizes, but I'd say in general I prefer to just simplify to only overbetting. And in the videos you might see me range bet a lot, and that's just because I'm not as focused when I'm recording sometimes. I'm trying to get back into a 20 big ones versus this fish here. I'll size up a little. I think I don't mind just getting this hand all in on the flop, but at the end of the day, they probably have a lot of bluffs. The thing about having eights, we'll go with the call here. Oh, it stinks. I don't know how often he's supposed to really raise flop with an ace. I mean, you never know what these guys are raising with, though. I don't think he's likely to bluff when the ace comes in, because I'm sure that's like what the fish probably perceives my range to look like. I mean, I'm gonna fold here. I have enough ace excess played, so I don't really start defending pocket eights. I think there's a chance he just has a deuce. And even when he's bluffing, if he gets some random airball like king queen, he still is gonna have like 6 outs to beat me on the river. So it's not exactly the greatest price to call an overbet. I'm gonna record this one for a little bit longer. 62 I think is enough to 3-bet this hand. You actually 3-bet a lot. This is the only spot where queen jack off is actually a 3-bet really. Just cut off first button. I think here when you have no extra flatter, you can actually go ahead and squeeze this hand a lot more often. Normally it actually does a call because it doesn't like facing a 4-bet. Of course we just get 4-bet over here. 55 here. I'll go with the open. That might be a little less than this. In general here, I actually like sizing down when you do this because you start 3-betting more often because there's an extra caller in the hand. So the price of calling a hand like queen jack suited, just the value of calling it goes down a lot more. And the value of just playing 3-betting this mergier hand goes up. So you're gonna 3-bet a lot more, so you size down. You don't need to be as polarized anywhere. So you kind of play more of a small blind strategy when there's an extra caller in the hand. And you're gonna be calling a lot less too, so you don't really need to protect your calling range as much. With these stronger holdings, I don't mind getting after it with this hand, but I think you probably want a better hand than ace-9. I mean, you can obviously have some reads on your opponents. If this guy's over 3-betting, then this guy's over opening, then you can obviously just attack very wide than you could compared to a sim. Especially if they're under defending as well. Nothing too interesting is happening. You can definitely flat a hand like this. It's gonna be folding over here. I don't know how many hands we have for the video here, but I might just start recording the next one because I don't know how long I intend on playing. I've been recording 33 minutes. I do think it's good I post a video where I get absolutely killed. I don't think I've had one in a while. And I actually got killed more than this because I lost 500 when I logged on. So we've given a lot of stacks, and I guess when you give away a lot of stacks, that means you probably have a good amount of hands to review. The one thing I probably won't go over the Jack 10 hand because it is versus recreational, and I don't know, it's weird. I mean, you can think about it in theory. Maybe I'll go over it quickly. Like, oh, if you're versus a reg, do you want to jam here on this board? Versus a big size, generally, it's just less appealing to call these types of hands now. There's so much money already in the middle. You rather just run your equity most of the time. Yeah, versus the smaller sizes, that's when you have to start playing poker, which is kind of why the smaller sizes are usually preferred in 4-bet pots. As the big sizes are basically just effectively shoving after the flop. Except for the benefit of you can bluff for them and fold to shoves. Play a couple more hands here though. So this guy calls in the spot. I guess he's just trying to beat this guy. Maybe this guy's just isn't that crazy aggressive. He's gonna have a lot of these middling pocket pairs. He has 7s and 8s and deuces, obviously, all of them. So I'll go with the size down range, just because I expect that's what his range to look like. I don't want to go big here and fold out like 6s, 5s, and 4s. I really don't know why he's flatting in the spot. I mean, in theory, you can actually play flats and everything, but the thing is, it's just not a preferable strategy. I mean, in general, I think, yeah. Unless you're like an absolute computer and you're playing versus other computers, you can probably gain some edge from doing things like this. If you really want to find niche ways to gain win rate. I don't know. I'm no expert. I just prefer not to do stuff like that. I don't like the deeper you go, the more you can start including flats. But yeah. All right. Play a couple more interesting hands and then reset the. This hand I think is just 3-better fold. So I'm gonna go with the fold there on a 7. Gonna be defending this on a 22. And just gonna be folding flop. I don't mind my opponent playing a splitting strategy here. Yeah. This guy likes to he prefers the smaller c-bet sizings. Anyway, is it ever a thing to over defend this guy when you get like multiple overcalls for the video? Do I just tilt on video? I just don't know how often this guy has a jam. His PFR is nothing crazy, so I guess it's possibly a strong hand from under the gun. So I'm not gonna be doing anything crazy punty. Anyway, okay, good job, me. Got the hand again versus this guy. I think we'll continue this one in the next video, though. Gonna be wrapping up the video here. Not many hands I can see myself reviewing anytime soon, so, or like from here onwards. So anyway, thank you everyone for watching, and stay tuned for the studying portion and part 2 coming tomorrow, assuming everything goes right. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'm out. All right, starting off with the 10-9 hand that I got sacked on. In the spot, you're actually not supposed to be range betting the spot, but I no-luck it, so I can. For all you range bettors out there, we can take something away from the spot. Opponent's obviously supposed to be raising a pretty aggressive strategy. You have enough bluffs, so you can obviously go bigger. And then on the turn, I give him the 20% lead. It is a card you are leading. Just a range bet, it's less appealing. If you call the bigger size, obviously you'd be playing on slightly more leads. You can see here 10-9, and I guess King-9 is a main trap. I actually prefers raising the least, just due to the amount of like. Yeah, it does make sense that it would prefer to be a call. However, it's 0 EV, and I thought the line would be misplayed verse. I don't think you can really be in the wrong for raising a 10. And if you look at the spot, reopening the river mainly for the 75 sizing with the 10-9. And when he reshoves, doesn't seem like any of the blockers really do anything for you. If you look at the EV, it's basically just a mix. This is one of the spots in poker where you're really just, I want to call this sometimes, I want to fold this sometimes. It's kind of extent. I'd say, barring 9-7, if you look at his actual bluffing range here, because I was curious what his bluffs would be. So if we were to go to filters and we were to go to weak hands that are all in, it's almost like his bluffs are built around, and trash hands. His bluffs are almost built around 9x, and then some of these are random king-6 hands, obviously if he leads this. So the issue is, I don't know. So it's kind of one of the spots that's hard to have bluffs. The thing is, I will say, is there's a good chance my opponent's finding bluffs that are incorrect. So if we were to filter for trash hands, some people might take a worse off hand and not bluff them. For example, maybe they could just whale out with a hand like Jack-6 of spades or something like this. It's not whaling out, it's actually an okay jam, and yeah, 10-6 of spades. Other things like this are probably okay hands to jam as well. But anyway, on to the next hand. Alright, just so I can include some single raise big blind defense here, because I don't know how often that comes up. We're going to look at the Jack-7-7 board. Our opponent's going to be betting 1/3 at a very high frequency on this board, and our main preferred raise sizing is 75%, because it's a board where you have a good amount of bluffs, and you have a 7x advantage here. So you're going to be looking to attack that. The Jack-10 very rarely gets in except for the Jack of spades, just to have some Jack-10 I guess in there, but yeah, in general you could probably just call it. Then on the 5, the 5's an okay card for you, so you could include some leads, but in general, I'm not going to be leading. On turn, opponent's supposed to be pretty aggressive here. I think when you choose to call, the 7x advantage probably evens out close to it, so you can be a little aggressive with your overpairs and stuff like this. And by the time we get to the river here, like I said, when the 9 is the river, we're going to hit a lot of our 9x. And I think the size that puts our opponent in the toughest spot is going to be like a block bet B33, B20. And generally the better your jack is, the more you want to size up to half pot here is the idea. And yeah. No, not going polar at all here. I think when you decide to play the hand like this, you just want to protect your middling hands and attack the main portion of your opponent's range. So even your like super nutted hands, you just don't even bother going too polar with. Like a hand like, I guess you just never have a 7 really too often in this line now. Because how often does your 7x really call here? You basically have none. It's just 9-7 and 10-7. So I guess we would look here at like what 10-7 wants to do, and that's just going to be in one of your half pots. By the river, use some A7 off here. That goes in some of the trapping range as well. But yeah, I would say an advocate for these spots is just think about the type of hand you're going to have. And here right now, with Jack-9, you see it sizing down a little bit more because your opponent is less likely to have a 9 that calls you, and the hands that don't really block your opponent from having 9 are mainly sizing up to a half pot. yeah. Stay tuned for the last hand of the video. I feel like I'm struggling to find a hand that's like super interesting. Was gonna go over some, but they just seem so obvious, like some bigger 4-bet pots or hands that are in on the flop. But anyway, stay tuned for the last hand of the video. I'm sure I'll come up with something decent. Alright, welcome back to the last hand of the day for review. I chose to do this one hand just so I could show you guys what the small blind strategy is supposed to look like. In a spot like this where he checked into me, this was the one that checked back to the river. I had fours with the double blocker suit. Yeah, so you can see here, you're playing a lot of shoves here, as a lot of your hands just want to run their equity on this spot, just due to the nature of like the hands that actually have to call here. You basically don't miss the board at all, so you can actually just play a really aggressive jamming strategy, and then B20 with those middling hands. Yeah, and obviously mixing in, I would say queens and king queen suited and ace jack are just gonna find jams. I think kings and the other hands like ace king, ace 10 can find these B20s. Also the weaker jack X. It likes a B125, but I would just polarize to B33 and jam. It's hard to remember all three sizings. If you're curious how it looks, I'm not gonna bother doing it right now, but yeah, you can take out that the 125 sizing. Anyway, as you can see here, when he checks, it's kind of hard to give him the actual range because you don't really know what he's playing, but here, you only really want to bet when you have the backdoor blocker. I guess you just don't want to risk blowing up your equity with the spades. You can see the equity of your hand is higher, but it just prefers betting less. Anyway, on to the next hand. When he checks again into you on this board with the fours, as you can see, just still playing really slow. It prefers fives, I guess, as a way, because I guess maybe you can look at what your opponent's supposed to have. Obviously, it probably comes down to around stuff like this because he doesn't really have anything else around these 4 and ace 5. But yeah, prefers betting fives. And then on the river, what's it called? When your opponent, he basically is supposed to, like, the thing is his range doesn't really actually look like this. It's such a weird hand to run. But I did think it was worth pointing out that I actually can find a bluff on the river with this type of hand due to just ace 5 being in his bluffing range. You don't want to take fives, you want to take fours. Sixes isn't a bluff, so you can take these lower pairs. And you actually do, in practice, have a lot of ace queen. So it's one of those spots where you actually probably almost have a range advantage because you probably don't need to bet ace queen that many times, whereas he does. Anyway, it's kind of a hard time finding hands that run over in this video. The thing is, I will say, his range does look like he might have some ace queen in it. It's really hard to find a hand with a queen to bluff. King 10's obviously a value jam. You would probably take these weaker 10x hands, stuff like this. Makes sense. The issue is he could actually be bluffing some of these hands like this too. But yeah, in practice, I think when you get here, like a hand like fours is going to be a hand we don't bother with. Could go in that river bluffing range. This is one of the spots where you can basically just bluff everything. And the key is just okay, so as long as we know for a fact how much ace queen am I realistically going to have in this spot, you're going to have to decide that for yourself. How would you really gauge that you play the you're not going to be looking, you're not going to, unless you're cheating, you're not going to know how much ace queen you have in theory unless you know the node perfect. So you're going to go like realistically how much would I have in this node and adjust your bluffing range accordingly. So, okay, so do I think, this is what I recommend. If you end up with one of these shit hands here, but you're basically not really blocking too much of your opponent's folds, I'd recommend the lower ones here because I think in practice your opponent could actually more likely play 9s and 8s this way. So that's why I don't really like them. I prefer the hands like 4s. But what am I trying to say? Oh, so I would adjust my how often I'm gonna go all in with pocket 4s based on how much value I'm gonna have in the spot. That's what I would think. But I think in practice, I think for you to decide is how often is my opponent gonna be folding a spot. And looking back on it, I really do not mind the jam with pocket 4s here. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and the next video should be more entertaining than this one. There's a lot more interesting spots, so stay tuned for that one. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.